be able to do it without you.
And you know I wouldn't be able to do it without you.
We're perfectly balanced in all ways. Perfectly matched. Hello, everyone. Today we are doing lesson 132, I Loose the World from All I Thought It Was, with the correlating chapter text of chapter 12, the Holy Spirit's Curriculum, section 8, the Attraction of Love for Love, and we will be doing chapter 13, the Guiltless World, the Introduction. We got a lot to cover today, so let us begin. Alex?
Chapter 12, the Holy Spirit's Curriculum, section 8, the Attraction for Love.
The Attraction of Love for Love.
Sorry. I was more worried and thinking about, do I have the right paragraph? Was it paragraph 1?
Yeah, we haven't. We're just starting. So.
Section 8, the Attraction of Love for Love. 1. Do you really believe that you can kill the Son of God? The Father has hidden his Son safely within himself and kept him far away from your destructive thoughts. But you know neither the Father nor the Son because of them. You attack the real world every day and every hour and minute, and yet you are surprised that you cannot see it. If you seek love in order to attack it, you will never find it. For if love is sharing, how can you find except through itself? Offer it, and it will come to you, because it is drawn to itself. But offer attack, and love will remain hidden, for it can live only in peace.
Absolutely. So what it's talking about there, folks, is that your judgments that you are holding forth as being true and as defining you and this world and everyone in it and everything in it are what are attacking the real world. It's those judgments. Those judgments are the attack. And this is why you cannot see the real world, because you are judging it every time you look at it. Does that make sense?
Yes, judgments apply a filter.
Exactly. So if you choose to seek love through Holy Spirit and ask to see everything through His eyes, hear everything through His ears, you will be shown the real world without the filters of the judgments you have been taught. When you see this, you will be seeing with Christ's eyes. Remember it talking about this a couple lessons ago? About seeing with Christ's eyes? This is what it's speaking of. Every time you judge, you are choosing ego. So every time you look out on the world and cast judgments, you are seeing it through a filter. If you ask to see it through Holy Spirit's eyes, you will see it with Christ's eyes and see the truth. But you have to let go of those judgments. And you have to ask to be able to be shown. Got to ask to receive, folks. Broken record here. Ask to receive. Please continue.
2. God's Son is as safe as his Father, for the Son knows his Father's protection and cannot fear. His Father's love holds him in perfect peace, and needing nothing, he asks for nothing. Yet he is far from you whose self he is, for you chose to attack him, and he disappeared from your sight into his Father. He did not change, but you did. For a split mind and all its works were not created by the Father, and could not live in the knowledge of him.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Did you get that?
Yes and no.
Because I was thinking, I hope she doesn't ask me if I get that, because I don't.
Okay.
I didn't.
So you know how I've been talking about how you are within God and God is within you, just as Holy Spirit is within you as he is within God. And remember when I was saying yesterday about how Holy Spirit, in truth, is your higher self. Just as God resides in you and in your brothers, you reside in your brothers as your brothers reside in you. Because we are all part of God. We all are God. There's a lot of implications with that, folks. This is why when you harm another, you harm yourself. If you harm yourself, you harm another. Think about that. But that's what it's talking about. How we are all interconnected. And that you can't really attack yourself or your brothers in the true sense of the word. You can't kill yourself. Yes, you can kill the body, but you are eternal. Your body's just a vessel, a car, nothing more. It houses you for the moment. It's like a pair of shoes or a pair of pants. You wear them until they wear out and then you change. Same with the body. So, now, in the second sentence where it says, his Father's love holds him in perfect peace, and needing nothing, he asks for nothing. Then it continues, yet he is far from you whose self he is, for you choose to attack him, and he disappeared from your sight into his Father. He did not change, but you did. For a split mind and all its works were not created by the Father and could not live in the knowledge of him. And what that's speaking of, folks, is that when you chose to accept the judgments and opinions being handed to you as being true and as defining you, all those labels and everything else, you, in those moments, began, when you first started, you began to forget who you are, who you truly are. And the more you piled on those judgments and those opinions and believed those to be true about you and the world around you, the more you disconnected from who you truly are within. And the more you disconnected, the more your true self receded. until it has receded completely into the Father, where it is kept safe and protected, until you are really and truly ready to start understanding who you really are and looking for that truth within you. Because that is where you have gone, you've sunk in within yourself. Something else is being brought to my attention. Children. And I've been talking about this on Facebook and on the Channeling Eric blog and other places, of how children will blindly follow and believe anything and everything being said to them when they are very small. And as they get older and they start to feel that conflict build within them of these things not resonating within them as being true, and yet they're being told they need to conform to those beliefs and dictates. It's those moments when you are accepting those dictates, those judgments as being the truth, and giving over and conforming to get that pain and suffering that they are extending to you to stop, that you lose touch with who you really are. And that is what you're getting ready to look at and let go of. All those experiences where you accepted those judgments, those opinions, those dictates that told you had to do this or else. Those kinds of things. And that's what it's talking about, is those decisions you made that has separated you from who you really are. Those are the things that will bring it back into understanding and help you bring into awareness who you really are within you. All right, please continue.
3. When you made visible what is not true, what is true became invisible to you. Yet it cannot be invisible in itself, for the Holy Spirit sees it with perfect clarity. It is invisible to you because you are looking at something else. Yet it is no more up to you to decide what is visible and what is invisible than it is up to you to decide what reality is. What can be seen is what the Holy Spirit sees. The definition of reality is God's, not yours. He created it, and He knows what it is. You who knew have forgotten, and unless He had given you a way to remember, you would have condemned yourself to oblivion.
Absolutely. So, what this is talking about, folks, and it harkens back to what I was just speaking of, okay? Of how it was that you were able to forget who you are. Okay? And what it implies is that who you truly are within you has become invisible to you. Because you've overlaid so many judgments and opinions, those filters in front of you. It's like having a gauzy piece of material like my slip here, right? It's like you can see through it, but it's kind of distorted just a tiny bit. And the more layers you put in front of it, the harder it is to see what's truly on the other side. Well, each of those judgments and opinions that you keep putting out there as being true about you, each one creates a filter, and it's one in front of the other, in front of the other, in front of the other, until your view of yourself is so distorted, you look nothing like who you truly are. That is why you are invisible to yourself now. I've talked about this way of us seeing ourselves by looking in the mirror and think of it as an overhead projector, and you distort your image with all those other images being over top. It's the same thing doctors do. They have an image in their mind of what a human being's charts should look like. They have an image in their minds of what a human being's body is supposed to look like within and without. And if yours doesn't look the same for whatever reason, they say something's wrong with you and it needs to be changed. And it's not always true. And what it's talking about there, folks, about the definition of reality is God's, not yours. It's recognizing that all those judgments are you trying to place a definition of what everything is or is not supposed to be. What everything is or is not going to be. Should be. And God's truth here is completely different from your own. What He has put together, you can't change. It is what it is. And this is how you have forgotten, is by taking in and accepting all those judgments and opinions as being true and defining you and this world. All right, please continue. Did that make sense to you, what I was saying?
Sorry, I was thinking about Jesus and his crown of thorns.
Okay, well, when we go to review the edit, you can look at it and then.
Okay.
Continue, please.
4. Because of your Father's love, you can never forget Him. Everything okay?
Yeah, you want to drink some water? Now try.
4. No, that's 4, not Thor. Sorry.
That was cute.
That was cute. All right. 4. Because your father's love, you can never forget Him, for no one can forget what God Himself placed in His memory. You can deny it, but you cannot lose it. A voice will answer every question you ask, and a vision will correct the perception of everything you see. For what you have made invisible is the only truth, and what you have not heard is the only answer. God would reunite you with yourself, and did not abandon you in your distress. You are waiting only for Him, and do not know it. Yet His memory shines in your mind and cannot be obliterated. It is no more past than future, being forever, always.
Absolutely. Now I want to draw your guys' attention to something here. Excuse me. I'm having a heck of a time with allergies today. I have been sneezing my head off and blowing my nose continuously for most of the day. Because of our Father's love for us, we can never forget Him. He will always be there in the back of our minds. And it's because He placed Himself there when He created us, so He could never be forgotten by us. Think about that one. Now, it's telling you that you can deny that He is there with you and within you. But you cannot lose it. You cannot lose Him. ever. He is always with you. This is why you are never alone. And the part I truly want to draw attention to here is where it's talking about a voice will answer every question you ask. And then it continues, and a vision will correct the perception of everything you see. I have shared with you guys time and time again, my brothers, how I have heard his voice and then received a vision. Things where he has folded time and space to bring me back to the moment of an experience so I could see it as an adult, as a third party, as all of it was happening. Standing outside of that child's body, watching, listening, and feeling everything that that child was feeling and the people around me were feeling and thinking and experiencing. That's what it's talking about by visions, that and so much more. There has been times where they have just completely had everything that's here around me vanish, and something else, someplace else in its place, as I am watching and listening and hearing things happening. Showing me something so I can understand a lesson. These are the things when you choose to go within to Holy Spirit and only Him and look and seek with love. With the love He offers you for the truth. And ask to see everything with His eyes, hear with His ears. And ask for the truth of everything that you were experiencing. Of what the truth of it all really, really was. And ask for the correction when the truth is shown to you. When it's being shown, say, okay, this is what happened, now show me the correction. And He will show it to you. But you have to ask. Please, my brothers, understand this. You must ask. You must ask. He cannot do anything for you or with you unless you invite Him in by asking. That is the only way He can help you and you can receive is if you ask and accept without judgment. When He gives it to you, when He offers you that truth and that understanding of what that is that you were doing in those moments and sets out the truth with the correction there, accept it without judging it in any way. And you will be given peace and freedom from it. I cannot stress this enough for you. And it's when you do this that He will make it all visible to you again. The truth of yourself, the world, and everyone and everything within it. His vision will be open to you fully, continuously, in all things. You will be reuniting yourself with Him and with God as you choose to do this. All right, please continue.
5. You have but to ask for this memory, and you will remember. Yet the memory of God cannot shine in a mind that has obliterated it and wants to keep it so. For the memory of God can dawn only in a mind that chooses to remember and that has relinquished the insane desire to control reality. You, who cannot even control yourself, should hardly aspire to control the universe, but look upon what you have made of it and rejoice that it is not so.
Think about that one.
Yeah.
Aren't you glad that you're not in control of the universe or the world or anyone or anything else in it right now? With how all the craziness and chaos and all the other stuff that seems to be happening with everything?
I'm certainly not in a position to be in control.
Yeah, and you're not in control of yourself either. We've seen this. I know I'm not in control of myself. I have to hand everything over to Holy Spirit because I know I can't control a damn thing. I've tried. Believe me, I've tried. It does not work.
I know that after that breakdown they had the other night, I gave up a piece of control.
Absolutely.
And it's, in a way, it's been liberating. It's strange because, it was almost like a breakthrough through a negative experience, but there's a positive outcome to it, and that is that I feel much more at peace now. It's almost like
all of the breakthroughs come through the negative.
It's like a piece of my ego died.
Yeah. All of the breakthroughs come through what we call negative, and it's that judgment of it being a negative thing to come out with a positive outcome. It's recognizing how everything is of benefit to us, that there's no good, bad, right, or wrong, positive, negative, none of those things, that everything is perfectly timed, perfectly orchestrated for us, so we may learn who we are with clear, concise understanding and knowing. This is why everything that we experience is for our benefit. This is why every experience is just that, an experience. There's no good, bad, right, wrong, higher, lower, better than, less than, none of that. They're equal, every one of them, because they are all of benefit. Does that make more sense now?
Yes.
And it gives more peace when you understand it in that way?
I guess I already knew that. It's just, at the time, I was viewing it as a negative experience.
Yeah. And that's how we're taught to see everything. Anything that causes us to question and doubt ourselves in any way, shape, or form, or the world, or anything we've been taught, we're to see as a negative experience and to shun it. Run from it, be afraid of it, hide from it.
Right.
Because it's those things that we've been taught are bad, wrong, horrible, and we shouldn't do it. It's a sin to question anything. And I'm being told question everything, because everything I've been taught has been a lie. That Holy Spirit will give me the truth. And when I question the things that He tells me is the truth, He gives me more clarity with examples as to why it's the truth. Using my own real life experiences as the material. Please continue.
6. Son of God, be not content with nothing. What is not real cannot be seen and has no value. God could not offer His Son what has no value, nor could His Son receive it. You were redeemed the instant you thought you had deserted him. Everything you made has never been and is invisible because the Holy Spirit does not see it. Yet what he does see is yours to behold, and through his vision, your perception is healed. You have made invisible the only truth that this world holds. Valuing nothing, you have sought nothing. By making nothing real to you, you have seen it, but it is not there, and Christ is invisible to you because of what you have made visible to yourself.
So, what it's saying there, folks, is that everything that you've been placing value and worth on is worthless and valueless. Everything that you have judged as being necessary, wanted, needed, and desirable, all those things are fallacies. They're false idols, and none of them have any value or worth. And I keep seeing the words reverend, minister, priest, rabbi, all these different titles that in doctor, lawyer, all these different things are all false idols that people have tried to attach themselves to as giving them more importance than somebody else. And they're all ego driven. And it is that type of content, as well as all the material things in this world that we've placed our value and our trust into, that kind of content that is not of value or worth. It will not bring us joy or happiness. It will not bring us a sense of peace and well-being within us. All those things do is bring us stress, worry, strife, pain, and suffering. No more, no less. And it's these things that we've been taught to place value on that has helped to superimpose those veils between us and Father, us and the truth of who we are. That those are the types of things that will define who we are. The more stuff we have, the more titles we have, the more this we have, the more that we have, the more important we are, the more valuable and worthy and worthwhile we are. All of that stuff is a lie that you were taught to think and believe is true, and it has carried over into your adulthood, that belief, and it's reinforced every single day by those judgments, opinions, advice, and dictates that you are constantly taking in and accepting day in, day out, moment by moment. All the prohibitions and laws being laid down on you and before you that you are to follow, or else fines, or else jail, or else. There's always an or else. Just as when you were a child, many times there was an or else you're going to go to bed without any dinner, or else you're going to stand in a corner, or else you're going to have to do all these chores, or else I'm going to blister your ass, or else I'm going to beat the living shit out of you, or else. All of these things have played into these beliefs you have taken in, because those judgments, those opinions, that advice, all equate to the belief that you hold forth as defining you, yourself, This world, your brothers in it, and everything else. Those beliefs are what are caging you. And those beliefs are held within your own mind. That cage is in your own mind, folks, keeping you trapped in that tight, limited little space that you believe is the reality around you. That is the freaking illusion that you have been living under since the day you were born. It's what your parents are still living under, and your grandparents and their parents before them, and their parents before them, and their parents before them. And believe it or not, folks, all of them are still alive in this moment, in their reality. In those moments when they first were learning all these things, they're still living in those moments. All of us are. Everything's still happening simultaneously. There's no past, there's no future. It's all right here now. When I bring up those thoughts, those memories, it is reliving those moments, which is why when he folds space and time for me, and I am able to witness that child, it is as if I am there as a third person, a third party, watching everything that's happening. This is the depth of the illusion. This is why it is so critical for you to start looking within at everything you've experienced and ask to see with his eyes, hear with his ears, and to not judge what he shows you and hands you, to witness it through that child's eyes and mind and see everything as it truly was. Just as I had done when I was that child, listening to those things that the adults around me were saying. And I believed they were saying it all to me and not to each other. Their judgments and opinions, I believed they were true, and they weren't. This is what it's speaking of here, folks. These are the things it's wanting you to do, to take in and look at. Actively seek these things out within you to understand where everything's coming from. Connect the motherfucking dots, one into the other. Everything you go through now are from things you had experienced as a child. That's where those judgments come from about the things you experience now. All that pain and suffering you're experiencing now is coming from those beliefs you picked up as a child. This is why you need to really look at this stuff, to see the truth of what you do. Please continue.
7. Yet it does not matter how much distance you have tried to interpose between your awareness and truth. God's Son can be seen because his vision is shared. The Holy Spirit looks upon him and sees nothing else in you. What is invisible to you is perfect in his sight and encompasses all of it. He has remembered you because he forgot not the Father. You looked upon the unreal and found despair. Yet by seeking the unreal, what else could you find? The unreal world is a thing of despair, for it can never be. And you, who share God's being with him, could never be content without reality. What God did not give you has no power over you, and the attraction of love for love remains irresistible. For it is the function of love to unite all things unto itself, and to hold all things together by extending its wholeness.
Absolutely. So, it's like I was just saying, folks, that until you choose to let go those judgments, recognize them for what they were, your true self will stay invisible to you. Until you ask to see with Holy Spirit's eyes and hear with his ears, you will not be given the ability to see with Christ's eyes and mind, to understand. And no matter how much distance you think you are putting between you and the Father and awareness of the truth, it's not true. It's still there within you, buried deep. And the reason why God's Son can be seen and his vision is shared is because, as I stated, God is within each and every one of us, just as each and one of us are within each other. This is why it's shared, because we are all one in the same being. We are God, interconnected, one to the other. And so far, all your life, you've been seeking the unreal because that's what you have been taught to do. And it's talking about letting that go and seeking only for the true and the real. And that it's love that will unite all of this stuff together into one. And bring you that wholeness that you've been craving so desperately all your life. Please continue.
8. The real world was given you by God in loving exchange for the world you made and the world you see. Only take it from the hand of Christ and look upon it. Its reality will make everything else invisible, for beholding it is total perception. And as you look upon it, you will remember that it was always so. Nothingness will become invisible, for you will at last have seen truly. Redeemed perception is easily translated into knowledge, for only perception is capable of error, and perception has never been. Being corrected, it gives place to knowledge, which is... Sorry, I just couldn't help but laughing because you nod or shake your head based on whether I'm getting the words right or not.
And catch it out of your periphery.
And I just couldn't help but chuckle at that. So
yeah.
I'm going to reread that sentence.
Please do.
Being corrected, it gives place to knowledge, which is forever the only reality. The atonement is but the way back to what was never lost. Your Father could not cease to love his Son.
Absolutely. It's funny here, folks, because it seems as if everything that my guides are having me speak of seem to be having me skip ahead and talk ahead. And as Alex and I have already told you all, I haven't read this. I haven't been able to. I haven't been able to listen to it, anything. I'm always blocked when I try. I can't even sit down and try to read tomorrow's stuff. I'll be blocked from doing so. I am every freaking time. I sit down with the expectation of being able to read it, and every time I'm told, ha ha, screw you. Ain't gonna happen. So, what this is talking about, just to recap on it some, is that the real world is here. It's letting go of everything you've been taught to think and believe is true about it. All the judgments that you have laid over it, that you will be letting go of. That will be the premise here that they are wanting you to recognize. That you are going to be the one that has to willingly let go all that crap you've been taught for the truth of what's really here in front of you. That the world is not an illusion. It's how you perceive it that's the illusion. How you've judged it to be. That is the illusion. All right, folks, that was Chapter 12, The Holy Spirit's Curriculum, Section 8, The Attraction of Love for Love. Let's move on to Chapter 13's Introduction. Chapter 13, The Guiltless World. Introduction. Alex?
Chapter 13, The Guiltless World. Introduction. If you did not feel guilty, you could not attack, for condemnation is the root of attack. It is the judgment of one mind by another as unworthy of love and deserving of punishment. But herein lies the split, for the mind that judges perceives itself as separate from the mind being judged, believing that by punishing another it will escape punishment. All this is but the delusional attempt of the mind to deny itself and escape the penalty of denial. It is not an attempt to relinquish denial, but to hold on to it. For it is guilt that has obscured the Father to you, and it is guilt that has driven you insane.
Absolutely. And this harkens back to what I was just speaking about there in Chapter 12, just a moment ago, about how your condemnation is the root of attack. Your judgments of everything is the root of attack on God, on yourself, on the world, on your brothers. And that every time you judge another, you are judging yourself. So if you think you're going to be punishing someone else, you're going to be punishing yourself. You harm another, you harm yourself. It's like I was talking about, because your brothers are within you and you are within your brothers. Anytime you harm yourself, you harm them. Anytime you harm them, you harm yourself. It matters not which way you're going with it. And every time you harm someone else, you feel guilty about it. You feel shame. Those are pain and suffering. And you also end up feeling fear. Anytime you lie, cheat, steal from a brother, you feel fear, guilt, shame. All pain and suffering. And when you deny a brother something, once again, fear, guilt, shame. All comes back to the same thing. Because in each one you're judging that somebody else is unworthy in some way. That's what it's talking about, folks. Please continue.
The acceptance of guilt into the mind of God's Son was the beginning of the separation, as the acceptance of the atonement is its end. The world you see is the delusional system of those made mad by guilt. Look carefully at this world, and you will realize that this is so. For this world is the symbol of punishment, and all the laws that seem to govern it, are the laws of death. Children are born into it through pain and in pain. Their growth is attended by suffering, and they learn of sorrow and separation and death. Their minds seem to be trapped in their brain, and its powers to decline if their bodies are hurt. They seem to love, yet they desert and are deserted. They appear to lose what they love, perhaps the most insane belief of all. And their bodies wither and gasp and are laid in the ground and are no more. Not one of them but has the thought that God is cruel.
Absolutely. And this is what I was just talking about once again. Does it feel like it's repeating?
The last sentence really threw me off. Not one of them but God has thought that God is cruel. Maybe it's a double negative. I don't understand it.
In other words, it's stating that every one of them has thought that God is cruel. That is what it's saying, but it has the word not and the word but in there.
So it's a double negative.
It's the double negative, yes. So every time that you accept those judgments or hand out judgments, it comes back to the shame, the guilt, the fear, right? And it's talking about that. Every time you judge, you put in a wall of separation between you and everyone and everything else. And it is a delusional system that causes nothing more than pain and suffering. And this entire world and the way it's set up is based on punishment. Punishment and reward. Punishment and reward. That's the psychological basis here that is being used. Punishment comes when we choose to ignore the judgments and opinions and advice being handed to us and choose our own way, what resonates with us. Think about that for a moment. Every time we ignore what someone is telling us we should think, say, or do, we get punished for it. Yelled at, ostracized, physically hit, whatever. That's how it happened for us as children. When we ignored what our parents said and did what we wanted to do, we got punished. And when we did what our parents said, we were rewarded. They were happy with us. They accepted us. They were loving toward us. Gentle, kind. And that's the kind of mental brainwashing, emotional, mental manipulations we went through, that we are to look at, to recognize so we can undo them. We have to recognize them within ourselves first. That's why we need to ask for Holy Spirit to show them to us, to show us the truth. He will show us these truths, these things we've done. And it's us seeing it for what it is that allows us to release it, let it go, and stop doing it. But it comes back to that whole image thing that I was giving you of a child being trapped in their mind in a cage put there because they chose to believe whatever was being dictated to them, whatever judgments and opinions were being handed to them, created the cage that's in their mind. And that cage, folks, is still with you today until you choose to break free of it. All right. Please continue.
If this were the real world, God would be cruel, for no father could subject his children to this as the price of salvation and be loving. Love does not kill to save. If it did, attack would be salvation, and this is the ego's interpretation, not God's. Only the world of guilt could demand this, for only the guilty could conceive of it. Adam's, quote, sin could have touched no one had he not believed it was the Father who drove him out of paradise. For in that belief, the knowledge of the Father was lost, since only those who do not understand him could believe it.
Continue.
This world is a picture of the crucifixion of God's Son, and until you realize that God's Son cannot be crucified, this is the world you will see. Yet you will not realize this until you accept the eternal fact that God's Son is not guilty. He deserves only love because he has given only love. He cannot be condemned because he has never condemned. The atonement is the final lesson he need learn, for it teaches him that, never having sinned, he has no need of salvation.
Absolutely. So, what it's talking about there is recognizing the fallacy in these things that you've been holding on to as being true. Recognize the lies within them. All the crap that you've been getting taught to think and believe to be true has been a lie. And you unknowingly and willingly accepted it all. Unknowingly and willingly. You've been tricked. You've been tricked. That's the joke that keeps popping in my head. Ha ha, you've been tricked. You've been tricked. All you got to do is look at it and you can see you were tricked. You were tricked.
Yeah, I keep getting this sense, this thought that really the way out of this illusion of pain and suffering is a very short path. Mm-hmm. It's like, I was seeing an analogy of it the other day, or hearing an analogy. It was more like a vision of living next to a cliff. And all your life, you believe that that cliff is real. But what if there was an invisible path?
An invisible bridge.
An invisible bridge that you could walk across. Mm-hmm. But you would never know because you believe, just because you can't see it, that you would fall to your death, obviously.
Yeah.
So, in that sense, it has me praying lately, please help me see what I cannot see, what is there and I cannot see.
Yeah. And part of that is the beliefs that you hold. It's like you don't recognize you hold a belief of something until it causes that conflict within you.
Here's the interesting thing that I've been experiencing lately since that breakdown I had. I'm operating off of kind of just very basic functions right now in some ways. Just, what am I pulled to do? Anything? No? Then I'll just sit here. Mm-hmm. And is there anything pulling me? Well, I have to use the restroom or, food or whatever it might be. But
in general, not so much.
In general, it's kind of an interesting experience to be in this state where it's kind of like an oh fuck it state, I give up state. But at the same time, there's a peacefulness to it.
Yeah. There is.
Yeah.
That stage that you're at right now is the stage right before you start diving into that seeking of all the stuff to really get rid of it, because you've reached a stage where you're like, I'm done. I can't deal with it anymore. And you've had that mental, emotional shutdown. And it's like now you don't want to deal with anything. And so now you're asking for the truth of all of this stuff because you simply want that pain to go away.
I think it's hilarious that I was praying for more motivation to get up and go to work and be in work on time. Mm-hmm. And, all of a sudden a job comes in, there's suddenly a new vice president coming in and, they want me there at 8 a.m. sharp or 9 a.m. sharp. And I just think, okay, Holy Spirit, you're a real comedian.
Yeah.
When I said I wanted more motivation, I didn't mean that.
Yeah. It's like you want some healing, some release from your
right. Pain. I give me some help to get out of bed, not some drama in the world. It's not what I meant by that.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it works. It's just, I think he's just being funny.
I think it's more along the lines of be careful what you keep asking for. Because it's those things you keep asking for that you keep receiving. But you're not recognizing that the things you're asking for are double-edged swords that are, one, judgmental in some ways of how things should or should not be, or how they should or should not be received.
How is asking for some motivation to get out of bed earlier?
Well, that's what the cats are for. And the dog barking.
I was having trouble getting to my job on time the other day. I was having trouble finding the motivation to get out of bed and go to work.
I know, babe. I know.
So I prayed for help, for motivation.
I know. And I'm talking about that. But not just in you. I'm generalizing it as I've been told to do, you know? Not you necessarily specifically in these moments.
Okay.
Recognize I'm not judging you in any way.
Okay.
Because you were taking it as a judgment, weren't you?
Oh, I've already forgotten what it was about.
Okay. Well, then let me get back to this then.
Okay.
So, as it keeps trying to point out to you guys, it's your judgments that are causing the pain and suffering, the guilt, the shame, the fear. And every time you judge anyone else out there or yourself, that's what you're doing. You're manifesting and creating more of the same. All right, that was Chapter 13, The Guiltless World, Introduction. Let's move on to the lesson of the day. Alex?
Lesson 132. I loose the world from all I thought it was.
It means release.
I just want, since we have this pause here anyways, I just wanted to say, I don't know, for the sake of saying it, that this, as you know, this lesson was one of my most difficult lessons for me to hear and listen to, and it still
eats at you,
trips me up on what it says.
I get it.
Let me go on. I loose the world from all I thought it was. What keeps the world in chains but your beliefs? And what can save the world except yourself? Belief is powerful indeed. The thoughts you hold are mighty, and illusions are strong in their effects, as is the truth. A madman thinks the world he sees is real, and does not doubt it, nor can he be swayed by questioning his thoughts' effects. But it is but when their source is raised to question that the hope of freedom comes to him at last.
Absolutely. Now, what it's talking about there, folks, is that when you question everything you've been taught to think and believe to be true, it is not until you have questioned these things that the truth can be given you, right? In that last sentence where it says, it is but when their source is raised to question that the hope of freedom comes to him at last, right? Because in that moment that you question it, your strength of belief begins to waver, has begun to waver. And it's that letting go and recognizing that what you had been thinking wasn't true that will release you from all of it. All the illusions. It's like we were talking about there in the text. Those judgments, those opinions, that advice is what is limiting you, that you've accepted as being the absolute truth. Please continue.
Yet salvation is easily achieved, for anyone is free to change his mind, and all his thoughts change with it. Now the source of thought has shifted, for to change your mind means you have changed the source of all ideas you think or ever thought or yet will think. You free the past from what you thought before. You free the future from all ancient thoughts of seeking what you do not want to find. Shall I go on?
Mm-hmm.
The present now remains the only time. Here in the present is the world set free. For as you let the past be lifted and release the future from your ancient fears, you find escape and give it to the world. You have enslaved the world with all your fears, your doubts and miseries. Your pain and tears and all your sorrows press on it and keep the world a prisoner to your beliefs. Death strikes it everywhere because you hold the bitter thoughts of death within your mind. The world is nothing in itself. Your mind must give it meaning, and what you behold upon it are your wishes, acted out so you can look on them and think them real. Perhaps you think you did not make the world, but came unwillingly to what was made already, hardly waiting for your thoughts to give it meaning. Yet in truth, you found exactly what you looked for when you came. There is no world apart from what you wish, and herein lies your ultimate release. Change but your mind on what you want to see, and all the world must change accordingly. Ideas leave not their source. This central theme is often stated in the text, and must be borne in mind if you would understand the lesson for today. It is not pride which tells you that you made the world you see, and that it changes as you change your mind.
Absolutely. And this is what I've been talking about, folks, from day one. Change your mind about what you think and believe, and you change everything you perceive. Instead of trying to change the world, change your mind about the world, and the world will change with it. This is kind of like a review of all the stuff I've been sharing with you and breaking down with you. It's all a repeat of all the things I've been sharing. Please continue.
But it is pride that argues you have come into a world quite separate from yourself, impervious to what you think, and quite apart from what you chance to think it is. There is no world. This is the central thought the Course attempts to teach. Not everyone is ready to accept it, and each one must go as far as he can let himself be led along the road to truth. He will return and still go farther, or perhaps step back a while and then return again. But healing is the gift of those who are prepared to learn there is no world and can accept the lesson now. Their readiness will bring the lesson to them in some form which they can understand and recognize. Some see it suddenly on point of death and rise to teach it. Others find it in experience that is not of this world, which shows them that the world does not exist, because what they behold must be the truth, and yet it clearly contradicts the world. And some will find it in this course, and in the exercises that we do today. Today's idea is true because the world does not exist, and if it is indeed your own imagining, then you can loose it from all things you ever thought it was by merely changing all the thoughts that gave it these appearances. The sick are healed as you let go all thoughts of sickness, and the dead arise when you let thoughts of life replace all thoughts you ever held of death. A lesson earlier repeated once must now be stressed again, for it contains the firm foundation for today's idea. You are as God created you. There is no place where you can suffer, and no time that can bring change to your eternal state. How can a world of time and peace exist? How can a world of time and place exist if you remain as God created you?
Absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, once again, it's all a repeat of everything I've been talking to you all about. That recognition that you are as God created you. You are perfect, holy, innocent, sinless. There's nothing wrong with you. Nothing wrong. Matters not if you were born with something that people say is a deformation. A deformity. It's not true. It's how you are. And you are perfect exactly as you are. Someone else's standards of beauty is not what defines who you are. And each and every one of us, as I've told you guys before, can heal ourselves. And we can heal others. It's what we are here to do. It's how we are naturally. Healers, all of us. All right, please continue.
What is the lesson for today except another way of saying that to know yourself is the salvation of the world? To free the world from every kind of pain is but to change your mind about yourself. There is no world apart from your ideas, because ideas leave not their source, and you maintain the world with your mind in thought. Yet if you are as God created you, you cannot think apart from Him, nor make what does not share His timelessness and love. Are these inherent in the world you see? Does it create like Him? Unless it does, it is not real and cannot be at all. If you are real, the world you see is false, for God's creation is unlike the world in every way. And as it was His thought by which you were created, so it is your thoughts which made it and must set it free, that you may know the thoughts you share with God.
Absolutely. So everything that we've been talking about here, folks, is how you are the one that is judging everything here. You're the one that is holding on to an image in your own mind of what everything is and is for. And they're asking you to let it go. To recognize that you're the one that has held that belief, that judgment, and you need to be the one to let it go. No one else can do that for you. Please continue.
Release the world. Your real creations wait for this release to give you fatherhood, not of illusions, but as God in truth. God shares His fatherhood with you, who are His Son, for He makes no distinctions in what is Himself and what is still Himself. What He creates is not apart from Him, and nowhere does the Father end, the Son begin as something separate from Him. There is no world because it is a thought apart from God, and made to separate the Father and the Son, and break away a part of God Himself, and thus destroy His wholeness. Can a world which comes from this idea be real? Can it be anywhere? Deny illusions, but accept the truth. Deny you are a shadow briefly laid upon a dying world. Release your mind, and you will look upon a world released. Today our purpose is to free the world from all the idle thoughts we ever held about it, and about all living things we see upon it. They cannot be there. No more can we. For we are in the home our Father sets for us along with them, and we who are as He created us would loose the world this day from every one of our illusions, that we may be free. Begin the 15-minute periods in which we practice twice today with this. I who remain as God created me would loose the world from all I thought it was. For I am real because the world is not, and I would know my own reality. Then merely rest, alert, but with no strain, and let your mind in quietness be changed so that the world is freed along with you. You need not realize that healing comes to many brothers far across the world, as well as to the ones you see nearby, as you send out these thoughts to bless the world. But you will sense your own release, although you may not fully understand as yet that you could never be released alone. Throughout the day, increase the freedom sent through your ideas to all the world, and say whenever you are tempted to deny the power of your simple change of mind, I loose the world from all I thought it was, and choose my own reality instead.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I got somebody. Okay. So, the point here, folks, is that in everything, how you have chosen to perceive the world, it is based off of all of the judgments, opinions that you have been given. How you have chosen to purview the world, your brothers within it, all the living creatures and beings, which includes the planet itself. It's a living being, are all real. All those judgments, the world as we know it to be, is what is not real. That is the illusion. It's all part of that cage you have within your own mind. And this is what they are asking you to recognize, that you are the one creating all of this, with your choice to judge it as you do and your beliefs in those judgments. Your blind following and acceptance is what keeps you caged, imprisoned, and a slave to the ego thought system and to your brothers around you. And you have to make a choice and a decision, an active choice and decision in every single moment to look, see, hear everything with Holy Spirit, to question every single thing as to the truth of it with Him. In every given moment that you are here, ask, so you may receive. And honey, once you get this information, extend it to your brothers so that they may open their eyes to the truth too, and stop hiding their head under those covers thinking that it's a scary world out there. And they don't want anybody to hurt them. All right. That was lesson 132. I loosed the world from all I thought it was. Chapter 12, the Holy Spirit's curriculum, section 8, the attraction of love for love, with chapter 13, the guiltless world, introduction. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Sabrina Reyenga.
And my name is Alex Reyenga.
Hugs, love, light, and blessings on your journey, my brothers. You are loved. We love you. Please be the might.
The what? The mic?
Might.
The might.
I know. Please be the light you are meant to be. Please be the light we know you to be. Please be the light we see you to be. Please choose to be the light. Seek the strength, the might, the understanding, and the wisdom within you through Holy Spirit. Seek Holy Spirit within you and ask so you may receive, my brothers. Choose to look at every single thing you are holding forth as being true and defining you in this world and everything in it and everyone. Recognize the judgments you are holding forth as defining everything here. That you are the one holding the key to the cage that's in your own mind. Ask and you will receive the answers and the clear vision to show you the truth of what He is telling you and sharing with you. Have a blessed day, everyone. We'll see you again.